Hello, I'm Megan Carter, and along with Bobby Ibarra, I'm co-president of the League of Women Voters of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County. On behalf of the League, I am pleased to welcome you to this candidate forum sponsored in partnership with Rutherford County Television, MT Law, and Delta Sigma Theta Sorority. This forum can be viewed on AT&T UVerse Channel 99, Xfinity Channel 19, DTC Channel 194, and YouTube RCTV Live. We hope the broadcasting and streaming of the forum by the county on so many different platforms will reach the largest number of interested voters. The League believes that televised and streamed candidate forums provide an excellent opportunity for voters to become more familiar with the candidates and their positions. If you agree, please express your opinion about the value of candidate forums to the individuals seeking your vote. The League seeks to conduct our forums in a nonpartisan manner. Key participants, especially the moderator, are never publicly aligned with any particular candidate or political party. In the upcoming August 1st election, citizens of Rutherford County will be voting to elect, among other positions, several Rutherford County School Board members, several City of Murfreesboro Council members, as well as many Tennessee General Assembly House and Senate primary district candidates. Early voting begins July 12th and runs through July 27th. If you have questions about voting, including obtaining an absentee ballot for the August 1st election, please visit the Rutherford County Election Commission webpage to learn more. We thank you for your attention as you hear these candidates introduce themselves and answer questions about pertinent issues facing Rutherford County and our state. We hope you find this forum useful in deciding which candidates you choose to support. Your vote gives you a prime opportunity to influence how government is conducted in the City of Murfreesboro, Rutherford County, and our State General Assembly. Thank you for joining us, and remember, your vote counts.
Good evening. My name is Sonia Wright, and I'm a member of the Middle Tennessee Lawyers Association of Women. I'm also here with Heather Parker and Barbara Lefevers that will serve as our timekeepers tonight, and I will be serving as the moderator for this candidate forum. This forum is sponsored, as Ms. Megan said, by the League of Women Voters of Murfreesboro, Rutherford County, Middle Tennessee Lawyers Association for Women, the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, and the Rutherford County Access Channel, Government Access Channel. Please be advised that the League of Women Voters, MT Law, and the sorority are all nonpartisan organizations that study and take positions on issues and do not support, endorse, or oppose any candidate, party, or political appointee. It is my pleasure to welcome both our audience here at the Rutherford County Courthouse and our viewers at home to this program. This candidate forum involves asking a series of questions that were developed by the League of Women Voters with community input. This evening, we will be hearing remarks from the candidates for the Rutherford County School Board, Zones 2 and 3. Before introducing the candidates, I would like to outline the procedure for the forum tonight. Each candidate will be asked to make an opening statement in a 2-minute period. When all candidates have completed the opening statement, then several additional questions will be asked. Each candidate is going to be asked the same question, and the candidates will respond to each of those questions with a 1-minute answer. The candidates will be allowed 2 minutes to answer the last question and then also to make your closing remarks. There is my timekeepers here that will help keep us on track tonight and will also assist you in making sure that you're aware of how much time you have for each question. As a reminder, there'll be no audience participation tonight during the forum, and we ask for everyone's cooperation in providing both a welcoming and an impartial environment for our candidates tonight. And now on to introducing as well as hearing from our candidates. First, I just want to thank you all for being here tonight. I know that, number one, it's hard to run for office, and we appreciate you doing that, but also making the time tonight to give your input and for the candidates to be able to hear from you. So we appreciate that. Speaking first is going to be Mr. Brooks. You can make your opening statement, and you'll have 2 minutes to do that.
Perfect. First, I want to say thank you to the League of Women Voters for putting on this wonderful event. I think it's so important that we educate and that we know and understand who people are and why we're doing the things that we do. My name is Robert Brooks. I'm a 31-year resident of Rutherford County, father to 4 wonderful, fantastic children, married to my wife, Toshua Brooks, for 18 years now. Been together for 20 years. Man, it's such a beautiful thing when you get an opportunity to put your hands to the plow and actually get into a position to be invested into lives, especially when we talk about young people. It's so important to have guidance and have people who are able to invest and to think out and to structure things to help for the betterment of our youth. I remember growing up, I always go back to the things of thinking of my old teachers. One of my old teachers was Ann Haley, who is currently serving in the school system, and she was my 7th grade math teacher. And I remember her having to pull me out in the hallway one day and give me some discipline. And she looked at me in the eyes and said, "Now, Robert Brooks, you know I love you, honey, but you can't do that." And that sticks with me. And that's why this, for me, is important. It's important to be invested in our children. It's important to be invested in our community and to build it up. So that way we can develop our students to go out and then come back home where they belong, right here in Rutherford County, so we can continue to grow Rutherford County.
Mr. Vaught.
Good evening. Again, thank y'all for doing this. My name is Stan Vaught, resident of Milton, Tennessee. Born and raised here. I hate to use that term, but you know, there's so many people. I've watched the county for the last 60 years grow and become the economic force that it is. Married, much like Mr. Brooks, 2 wonderful sons, Jackson and Chandler. Jackson's a graduate of Oakland High School, the IB program. Chandler's graduate of Central Magnet School. My mother was a school teacher here in Rutherford County for many, many years. She was a home economics teacher at Central High School. So when I entered MTSU, I ended up getting a degree in agriculture with an emphasis on secondary education. I was certified to teach vocational education, and I actually contemplated that for a couple of years, but decided to pursue the auctioneer business. I've been a licensed auctioneer and realtor in Rutherford County for 37 years now. We manage Parks Auction Company. Some of you would be familiar with that. And we still farm. I still farm in the Milton Lascassas community along with my brother. So we've got a background in business. We have a passion for education. I was laughing. I had to laugh just a minute when you said about Ms. Haley. I've been disciplined by Ms. Haley's mother, so there's a little bit difference in age in us right there. But Ann and I were in college together. Wonderful person. There's a lot of good people here in Rutherford County that have ended up being in the education system, and we're very fortunate to have the number of teachers and principals that we do. So again, thank you all for hosting this. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Now we'll hear from our Zone 3 candidates. Ms. Fee, we'll start with your opening statement.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Fee. I'm running for Rutherford County School Board for Zone 3 as the progressive candidate. I'm best known locally for being the founder and president of the Rutherford County Library Alliance. We started as a grassroots group last July after the implementation of Murfreesboro's decency ordinance. And by December, we had formed into an officially recognized nonprofit. We successfully testified this past legislative session before our Tennessee State House and Senate, and were instrumental in killing 2 book banning bills, one for our school libraries and one for our public library system. I've lived in Rutherford County for 20 years with my husband, Matt, and we're the parents of a public school student. For my kid and every kid in Rutherford County, I want to make sure our school system is one that fosters growth and is encouraging each child to reach their full potential. Now, my parents were both in the Army. My mom's a combat vet who served in Desert Storm. I lived in a handful of states growing up and went to many different schools, but the one constant at every school was our teachers and staff ensuring we received a quality education. And that's why I'm running. I want to advocate for those who advocated for me. I will be proactive in my role on the school board and will fight to keep public funds in public schools where they belong, to come up with creative solutions to cover our budget shortfalls, and make sure that every single student, teacher, administrator, and support staff member knows they have an advocate on the board fighting for them. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and all of you watching here or at home, and thank you for your vote on August 1st.
Now we'll hear from Ms. Johnson, if you'll make your opening statement.
Thanks to the League of Women Voters, the Middle Tennessee Lawyers Association for Women, the Rutherford County Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority for sponsoring this event. I'd also like to thank the current school board members who have committed their lives to serving the Rutherford County School District. They have a tough job. And I'd also like to thank those who have helped me get to this point. You're appreciated much more than you can ever know. My name is Lorri Johnson. I have over 35 years with a Fortune 50 insurance and financial services company with responsibilities including leadership of multi-million-dollar budgets, leading teams that consulted and supported over 90 independent contractors and their agencies who serviced over 250,000 households. Having had various career assignments located in 5 states, Missouri, Connecticut, South Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee, with many rural, urban, high and low income, ethnically diverse people groups. I intend to leverage these experiences to create an atmosphere of unity focused on the social, emotional learning of all our students. I am running to honor my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ by using the gifts and talents He gave to me to serve others. Over 8 years ago, my leadership role relocated, and I chose to stay here in Murfreesboro and make it my home. I look forward to collaborating with the board members, parents, families, educators, and community to formulate solutions to enhance the standard of excellence for student success.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from Mr. Tidwell, if you'll make your opening statement.
Hey, thank you guys for having me here. I appreciate the invitation. My name is Caleb Tidwell. I'm 39 years old, and I am married to my beautiful wife, Anna, and I have 3 kids. I have an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, and an 8-year-old. I am probably the best thing I could describe myself as the common man. So I work a normal job, normal hours, probably like most of you do here in the audience. And I care passionately about children. Care passionately about my own children, but I care passionately about all children. One thing that makes me, I guess, a little bit different is that I think common sense. I just do what makes the most sense. I'm not here for the politics that are surrounding these types of positions. I had never had a desire to get into politics until I seen some of the things going in that were happening inside the schools. And so for me, the biggest factor is going to be students first. That's what you're going to hear from me tonight. And just about every question, we're going to be talking about the most important person involved in this, which is the student and their education. That's where the focus should be. That's where the focus has not always traditionally been, but that's where it is now, and we're thankful for that. I am from this county. I've basically lived my entire life here, so I know the area. I went to elementary school in Kittrell. I went to high school in Oakland. Both of those are in the zone that I'm representing, and I graduated MTSU. So that would leave my remarks with that in the fact that I feel like I understand this community. I understand the values that have always been historically represented here, and I want to maintain those traditional values.
Thank you. We will now turn to our first question. This question will be answered first by Mr. Vaught, and then we'll give an opportunity for each person to answer as well, and you'll have 1 minute to answer the question. The first question for tonight is, do you think Rutherford County Schools should restrict the use of cell phones by students during the school day? And we'll start with Mr. Vaught.
Yes. Or buts about it.
Okay. All right. Ms. Fee?
So I don't think that kids should be on their cell phones during the day. But unfortunately, we live in an age where school shootings are a regular occurrence in our nation. If there is an emergency at my son's school, I want him to be able to call me if those are his last words. Also, they remove the burden on our front office staff of sending messages back and forth between students and parents. Now, the understanding with that, though, is that students do not need to be abusing that privilege. My son personally has struggled with that and has had his phone taken away for being on it in the middle of class. But yeah, absolutely, they should have them, but know the proper time and place to use them.
Ms. Johnson?
Absolutely, they should restrict the use of cell phones by students during the school day. This will allow students to focus on learning with less distraction, allow students to develop communication skills by learning to communicate face-to-face, and will allow students to learn about each other and make new friends. So absolutely it should be restricted.
Thank you. Mr. Tidwell?
I have good news. They are restricted. So according to policy 6.312, elementary kids cannot have their cell phones. They can have them on their person. They got to be silenced. They can't have them during class time unless it's principal approved for like a classroom specific situation. Middle school, same thing. They can have them for after school activities though. High school, they get more freedom. They can have them in transition times as well. However, I think we can all agree children are addicted to cell phones. So it's more of an implementation issue across the district than it is something that needs to be written into policy. The policy already exists. It just needs to be implemented. And one last thing on that is that we actually joined a lawsuit against suing social media companies because of the effects that they are having on students today, which I think we can all agree has been far more negative than positive.
And then Mr. Brooks, if you could comment, please, on your thoughts about restricting the use of cell phones by students.
Yeah, no, I was actually going to say, I believe that there is a policy that's already been put in place for the restricting of cell phones. You know, I had to have a conversation with my teenager. She goes to Smyrna High School, and she texted me one day, and my response back was, "Are you not in class? I need you to get educated right now. I don't need you to be texting me, asking me questions." And I think it just goes back to say, it's about implementation. If we implement a policy that we have in place, then I believe that it can be done in a way to where if there's something that needs to be done on a cell phone education time, that should be what we do. I know that in some instances there are things that may pop up and may happen, but you know, the policy reads clear. We probably just need to implement it and just go with that.
All right, our second question for the panel. What is your position on allowing teachers and staff to carry guns in Rutherford County schools? And we'll start with Ms. Fee.
So I'm absolutely against it. It will be a matter of when and not if someone is shot. We cannot expect our teachers to also be in law enforcement on top of all the other responsibilities that they have. We have so many systems, school systems that have come out already against the policy, which just shows how unpopular and how unwanted this legislation was. When I'm on the board, I will propose a policy for Rutherford County Schools to ensure all applications to carry are denied by our school director. This not only will take the burden off of our director on making that decision, but it will also keep consistency regardless of who our director of schools is.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
If there are school resource officers in the building, arming teachers should not be necessary. But in rural communities, if that's what will keep our kids safe, I support it. Teachers must pass all checks, background, psychological, gun safety, etc., and take the coursework that school resource officers have to take to be certified. So in rural communities, yes. If they have school resource officers, no.
All right. Mr. Tidwell, your thoughts on that?
Yes, so safety has been a priority since I've been on the board. We've implemented many new safety measures and trainings. One of the most well-received trainings that we have ever done was one of the safety trainings we did. So safety is a priority. However, this is not a fit for Rutherford County, and it was never designed for Rutherford County. It was designed for those rural communities. When the state legislators wrote the bill, they had in mind those communities that had 15, 20-minute times where they had 3 law enforcement officers maybe in the county, and it's going to take them 15, 20 minutes before they got to the school. You know, that we've learned what happens in that amount of time. So this was more built for them. It was never intended for here, and even if it was going to try to be approved here, the director, the principal, and our local law enforcement would all have to sign off on it, which so far I don't think anyone is in agreement with that. We don't have a need for it here.
Mr. Brooks?
I mean, it's a new law. It's a new law. And I believe that, just as Mr. Tidwell stated, the superintendents, they have the right to opt in or opt out. So, I mean, it's just, to me, that's where it is. If the superintendent has the right to opt in and opt out, then that's where we need to go.
Mr. Vaught?
I think Rutherford County is very fortunate in having the school resource officers they've had or do have right now. When I was on the county commission, that program was started. If you read the text of the bill, and it was, as Mr. Tidwell said, it was really designed for the rural communities. I've had the opportunity to travel to all 95 counties in the state of Tennessee. I actually worked in all 95 counties at one point in time or another conducting auctions, and there are some very, very rural areas. So I can understand why those counties would want that. For Rutherford County, I don't think it's needed with the school resource officers that we have and the amount of law enforcement that we have in this county.
Thank you. Our next question: how should Rutherford County schools recruit and retain good teachers? And we're going to start with Ms. Johnson.
Creative bonuses and incentives for new hires and tenured teachers, trips, recognition after meeting the goals set forth. Possibly these could be set weekly and monthly. Career fairs, inviting the best and the brightest, recruit from the historically black colleges and universities, and ethnically diverse graduates. Make it fun and informative, that they can look for passion, caring, flexibility, utilizing the most effective assessment, and then hire the best. Referral bonuses for teachers to refer their friends. And to retain teachers, I'd say utilize the processes with the districts that have the highest retention rates and implement them. You can always ask the teachers what will keep them coming back as well.
Mr. Tidwell, same question. How should Rutherford County schools recruit and retain good teachers?
Well, I'm going to say that we did. So in 2022, when I was running and knocking doors and met teachers at their front door, I'd ask them what the issues were, why they were thinking of leaving the county, why they were getting out of education. And the things that came up were competitive pay, behavioral issues in the classroom, and overall culture. And those are 3 things that we worked on. So I'll give you some stats about how quickly the change was made. In 2022, August of 2022, so that was right after I'd gotten elected, there was 90 certified openings. After the first year, of the current board members being in place and a new director, the openings were 4 in August of 2023. So substantial changes. There has been a drastic shift. Obviously, we looked at several different factors, but focusing on those 3: competitive pay, good benefits, fixing the culture, and dealing with student behavior.
Mr. Brooks, same question. How should Rutherford County Schools recruit and retain good teachers?
As Mr. Tidwell just stated, we see that there has been a change and that it has gone to a better trend. But we also know that we can grow and we can always get better. I believe that better pay is always a way to get someone to come in, but I don't think that that's the only thing to do. Support. How do we support them? What are we bringing to the table for them? What are the conversations we are having? How do we get them more involved? How do we step it up a notch to get these candidates who want to come in and want to work and be lifelong teachers and not have them run away or be pushed away to another district that can offer them something more than just, whatever the norm is?
Mr. Vaught, how do you feel Rutherford County Schools should recruit and retain good teachers?
And again, we live in a very fortunate area here with MTSU and our back door and the number of colleges that are in Davidson County adjacent to us, TSU, Vanderbilt, Belmont, Trevecca, Cumberland. I'm going to leave somebody out, but the MTSU was designed as a teacher's college, and a lot of people that come here or traditionally have wanted to be teachers. And so I think competitive pay keeps people around. Being the manager of the auction company and dealing with employees all the time, competitive pay, good benefits, and support. You have to support them. I believe this. Let teachers teach, parents parent, and let that be it.
And Ms. Fee, the question, how should Rutherford County Schools recruit and retain good teachers?
So even though in Rutherford County, we're increasing teacher pay to the state-required $50,000 by 2025, that's barely enough to live in Rutherford County. And then if you add on any child care to that, a single person cannot live on that in Rutherford County. We need to look at being above the minimum pay scale and investigate what other benefits would entice teachers to want to work here, but not just work here, but stay here after they've gotten some experience under their belts.
Okay. We're going to go to our next question. What is your position on school vouchers? And we're going to start with Mr. Tidwell.
Well, my first response would be, is that the House bill, the Senate bill, the governor's bill? Which bill would you like to look at? Because there's so many different options out there and so many different pieces to that puzzle. I am pro-school choice. I am for the parents' right to choose. I don't think they should be restricted just to their zone. The money follows the student, so that allows some opportunity there. But I will say, we did do some deep research on some of the options that were presented. And my questions around those were with accountability, making sure this didn't turn into a program that could be abused by some for the wrong reasons, and then also some of the legislative overreach into some of the school options that might cause more government interference than what is necessary.
Thank you. Mr. Brooks, your position on school vouchers.
I am all for parent choice. I'm a parent myself, and I've been put in positions where decisions that I should make as a parent was told that I could not make that decision. So as an advocate for parent choice, I'm always going to be for parent choice. That's where I'm going to stand. That's where I'm going to be. And I just think for vouchers, I think that it can be a healthy thing. I think that it can be something that we all can foster. There just needs to be more conversations. There needs to be more information. There needs to be more in-depth looking into how the processes work. What are some safeguards? If these things can be abused, and how we can manage those things.
Thank you, Mr. Tidwell. Mr. Brooks, your position on school vouchers.
Thank you.
Mr. Tidwell, your position on school vouchers.
I think that it can be abused and how we can manage those things.
Mr. Vaught, your position on school vouchers.
You know, that's wide open. I can see both points, both sides of the issue right there. Everybody's scared about money leaving public education. Everybody said the money follows the student. But I think there's some real opportunities here. Further, I think you got to step back and ask, why do parents want a choice? Where has public education failed that family or failed that student or put those people in a position to want to do something different? I think that's one of the questions you have to answer. As Mr. Tidwell said, look at whichever bill you want to and how that's going to shake out. But, you know, if that becomes the law in the state of Tennessee, we will deal with it, we will make it work, and we will treat everybody fairly.
Ms. Fee, what is your position on school vouchers?
So it's my opinion, and it's not going to be popular, but to me, anything that removes public funding from public schools is anti-American and anti-democratic. Vouchers are nothing more than welfare for wealthy families whose kids are already in private schools. In every state that's participated already in a voucher program, they are either facing or have the threat of public schools closing. Very few public school students are ever able to use vouchers because the vast majority of them go to wealthy families whose kids are already in private schools.
And Ms. Johnson, what is your position on school vouchers?
I support parents having more choices and financial help in educating their children. And I understand the Education Freedom Scholarship is on the table. I personally would like to do more research. I'd like to know who has the oversight and how is that selection process going to occur. If there's 10,000 scholarships slated for those that are below 300% of the poverty level, how and who are going to be selected? I'd like to know a little bit more, but I do support parents' choice.
Thank you. Our next question, and we'll be back to Mr. Brooks, what new programs or sources do you think should be explored for increasing funding for the Rutherford County school system?
Sorry. I think that we should look at different opportunities for us to explore into finding ways to create more funding for our school system and for the programs that we want to implement. I don't agree that taxing is the way to go. That's not a way to go. More taxes, higher taxes, that is definitely not a thing and not a way that we should go. But I always think that we should look at different opportunities in our budgeting system to see where can we reallocate some monies. What can we do? What kind of program funding can we get brought in from other areas or from private companies to see if we can get some funding brought in to help carry the load of certain programs that we can move those funds to help us fund better.
Mr. Vaught, what new programs or sources do you think should be explored for increasing funding for Rutherford County school systems?
You know, looking back, and I mentioned earlier, I served on the county commission for 12 years, and one of the things that we did at that point in time from public input was to create a development tax. And you know, that's not a popular thing with new construction, especially being in the real estate business as I am. But if you look at the funding mechanism that the state of Tennessee has given the counties to fund it, our hands are tied. The state funds, 75% of it, but the local effort is still, 25 to 30% of it, and the burden of that is going to come from sales tax and property tax, and roughly 2/3 of us own property, and so it's going to go to that. As far as coming up with new funding mechanisms, I think we've got to work with the state legislature to not have Rutherford County's hands tied when it comes to new construction.
Ms. Fee, your thoughts on new programs or sources do you think that we should be exploring for increasing funding for the Rutherford County school system?
So one of my platform ideas for my campaign is finding creative solutions to cover our budget shortfalls, our funding shortfalls. One of these, my main one, is approaching large companies here in the county that pay little in the way of taxes and asking them to sponsor maintenance projects at our various schools that are struggling right now with deferred maintenance and other needs. Large companies here in the county barely pay enough wages for people to work and live here. The least that they can do is contribute to the improved education of their future employees.
Ms. Johnson, what new programs or sources do you think should be explored for increasing funding for the Rutherford County school system?
I think one way is to increase the taxes on the builders and use those funds to build new schools. Of course, these costs will be transferred to the renters and homeowners, but therefore maybe we can possibly offer temporary tax credits to help. I'd also think we might want to find out what other school districts are doing and what's working for them. Working in 5 different states, I have the opportunity to meet a lot of people doing a lot of different things, and I understand that there are many grants that maybe we don't know that we can take advantage of. So I'd say find out from other school districts what's working, and then utilize the grants that they're using to find those additional funds.
Mr. Tidwell, what new programs or sources do you think should be explored for increasing funding for the Rutherford County school system?
We already have some great business partners such as Smyrna Ready Mix who've just done amazing for our school district. So expanding those business partnerships is always going to be a good thing. Same thing for Dow Smith. Plus, we want to maintain good relationships with our funding bodies. We get funding, a huge portion, 70+% from the state, and then the other portion is covered here locally. We want to keep those relationships well and not engage in hyperbole and create all these differences between each other. We need each other to exist. So we want to improve on that. And then doing what we all do with our own checkbooks. We balance our checkbooks. And when we have a spending problem, what do? We cut back spending when we can't find the funds. So I think there has to be some considerations to that as well. Those are always hard, but it's hard when it happens to us personally, and we need to think about that as well.
We're going to go back over to Mr. Vaught. What are your thoughts about charter schools?
Again, that goes back to kind of the voucher system there. I think there's some opportunities for charter schools. I had mentioned to one of the school board members a few months ago, I'm big on vocational education. I think we've gone through 30 or 40 years in our country of promoting the idea that everybody needs to go to college. And I don't know that that's necessarily true, but I do think everybody needs a trade. They need something to fall back on, something that they know to do. And I think you could partner, you're talking about partnerships with, say, Smyrna Ready Mix or Haynes Brothers Lumber Company or one of the builders here in the county, that you could design a charter school that would teach the trades. So I think there's some opportunities there with charter schools.
Ms. Fee, what are your thoughts about charter schools?
So I know that charter schools are technically considered to be public schools. I don't consider you a public school if you can discriminate against who can attend. I have a special needs kid. Special needs kids are often left out from charter schools. I also would like to point out the fact that school choice has its roots in when we were desegregating our schools and the pushback that came with that. When we have charter schools and vouchers, those can take our diverse school systems and completely undo that to where we have incredibly less racially and socioeconomically diverse schools.
Ms. Johnson, would you please provide us your thoughts about charter schools?
If the school has a specialty or a focus on a particular student that can offer more individualized learning, I think charter schools can be a good thing. I'd like to know who provides the oversight and the accountability for the charter schools, and are they being held to the same accountability and the measures that public schools are? I think if we don't have strong oversight and accountability, these schools can develop into unintended segregation and consequences that can't be controlled. So it can be a good thing, but it can also be something that we don't really want to go forward with.
Mr. Tidwell, if you'll provide us your thoughts about charter schools.
So my thoughts on charter schools are exactly the same as they were back in 2022 when I was running, which is that they can have a purpose. I think it gives more options for the area. Take a Montessori school or some kind of specialized school. Plus, they can save our county money. So I know there's been a lot of talk about the different funds and stuff, and we can address that if we need to address that later, because I think there's a lot of information on both sides. However, to the point of which charter schools can be useful, it costs us $60 million to build an elementary school. And so if those students go to a charter school for their parents' choosing, which clearly there is a want or a need for it here, as there are 3 charter school offerings and all of them have filled up their application parts requests. So with that being said, there is a need for it, there is a use for it, and it is wanted. So I don't understand why you wouldn't want to have it here if you're in support of parents' choice.
Mr. Brook, what are your thoughts on charter schools?
Well, here's my thought. I mean, I know that this is already a hot topic with the school board currently. So, you know, as I sit and think about this, I personally think that charter schools can be a benefit to our county. They add seats, they bring buildings, they do a lot of the things that we kind of need right now. As I think about over the years, and processes that I've looked at from the past, which I'll even discuss that later because I know that there's a question about that. But with the funding issue that has been proposed, I mean, I've even looked into that, and I think that charter schools, it's just like with the vouchers, more conversation. I think if we close ourselves off from the conversations and trying to figure things out, I think that's always a disadvantage to our kids. It's never good to stop conversations.
Thank you. Ms. Fee, what qualifies you to be elected to the Rutherford County School Board?
I'm the mother of a special needs kid, as I just mentioned a minute ago. He's in high school right now, and he's thriving at Riverdale. But in elementary and in middle school, he struggled to the point where I stopped working because I was getting daily phone calls, emails, calls to come in and get him. So I've seen that at all of his grade levels, from when he was in pre-K in Rutherford County School System in an integrated pre-K classroom, now up to he's about to be a senior. I'm also the president of a local nonprofit and a community advocate, and I am very comfortable reaching out to leadership on all levels in our state to make them aware of the issues our schools are facing and to make sure that we get resolution.
Ms. Johnson, what qualifies you to be elected to the Rutherford County School Board?
My 20-plus years of leadership experience in the 5 states, as I mentioned before, Missouri, South Carolina, Connecticut, and Tennessee, being in the insurance industry, I understand the importance of policy and fiscal responsibility. And having the opportunity to lead teams of people in all different demographics and get results, I think would be a valuable asset in a county like Rutherford County and the school system that's ethnically diverse as it is. So having someone who can bring people together and create a climate of unity and working together that results in productivity and learning and listening and implementing the suggestions and ideas of the teams, that would be the key to our success.
Mr. Tidwell, what qualifies you to be elected to the Rutherford County School Board?
All right, so this is my least favorite question out of all the questions, and that's just because the qualifications are just whatever they ask us at the Election Commission. Anybody can run. Anybody that's passionate about education, anybody that's passionate about office can run. I knew nothing about what I was doing in 2022. I'd never ran a campaign before. I did not hire a company to run my campaign. I just had a fire and a passion for what I was doing and I believed it, and I was willing to fight for that. And that's all you really need. For me, again, it goes back to how I make decisions is I do the research. I don't just rubber stamp everything. I use common sense logic, which I think is fair. And I don't think that there is some amazing qualification that you need. This was said to me once, and I believe it. God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called.
Mr. Brooks, what qualifies you to be elected to the Rutherford County School Board?
That scripture right there that Mr. Tidwell just said. That's all the qualification I needed. A quick story. I was sitting in church, and the pastor's standing up on the pulpit, and he says, "You can sit around and complain about everything you want to, but if you ever want to make change and do it right, you will shut your mouth and you will put your hands on the plow and you will begin to till the ground." I said, "Okay, enough said, Lord. I'll receive it." As a graduate of Laverne High School, a parent of current RCS students, I have a daughter who is 24 years old, Michigan State, getting her doctorate, and looking at family and looking at young people today and the things that they need and the culture we can create with diversity, with bringing everybody in together in a community. Man, it's a beautiful thing.
Mr. Vaught, what qualifies you to be elected to the Rutherford County School Board?
Several things. A passion, I think, for education, a passion for this county. I think we've all looked at the dysfunction in Washington over the last several years, and the thought comes to mind that if you don't engage in your political system, if you don't contribute to your society, you end up with a bunch of wackadoodles running everything. And I'm not saying that we have wackadoodles running our school board, but we could be subject to that. We could be subject to that on the county commission level. 12 years on the county commission, I understand the budgetary process. I manage 75 employees right now. Small business owner as an auctioneer and a farmer, chairman or past chairman of the Public Building Authority. I hope that I can bring some continuity to the building program. There's just several factors, I think, that we would like to.
Right, we're now going to turn to our final question for the evening, and I just want to remind each of you that you'll have 2 minutes to answer the final question as well as make any final remarks that you'd like to make during that time. We're going to start with Ms. Johnson. Ms. Johnson, what do you consider the 3 most important issues facing the Rutherford County school system at this time, and how would you address those issues if elected?
I would say the 3 external forces that affect social and emotional learning, the rapid population growth, and more parent and community involvement. The external forces that affect social and emotional learning, just making sure that the kids have everything that they need and understand that they have the support that is available to them. This rapid population growth, working with the district and the county commission and staying ahead of the projected growth, but I tell you, if you don't have the support of the Tennessee General Assembly, it's hard to get what you need to grow this district. And more parent and community involvement, I'd say offering workshops and town halls to bring our families together to find out what they need from the schools and what the schools need from the families, and encourage volunteerism for the needs of the school as the schedule permits. The goal would be to increase communication with all stakeholders and listen to the opinions that they have, establishing a climate of working together for the success of all students. And I'd say if you heard something this evening that encouraged you, please cast your vote on August the 1st. And if you're not registered yet, the deadline is July the 2nd. If you have more questions for me, I'm available to listen and learn. And if you choose to vote for me, remember Lorri with 2 R's, and tell 3 of your friends. Thanks for spending time with us.
Mr. Tidwell, what do you consider to be the 3 most important issues facing the Rutherford County school system at this time, and how would you address those issues if elected?
All right, so I am currently sitting on the board, so I'm asking for re-election, but the issues are growth, which we have worked through district-wide rezoning, and we have improved more buildings than have been approved in the past 4 years. We have a long-term plan, and we're staying on that plan to build schools as quickly as we need them, which we're trying to balance out with the money that we have, which leads me to my second thing, which is accountability, which falls into budgeting. So we're very careful with the budget. My first year, we had a balanced budget. I think that when this year's all said and done, I think we will still end with a balanced budget this year. And I would also say that the third thing is going to be academics. So we got a high bar set here in Rutherford County. We've maintained that high bar. We want to continue to have that high bar 10 years from now as part of the vision that we have. We don't want to fall into the larger big cities, which we are very comparable to, that end up with failing schools. We don't want to follow that path. So many do. We don't want to follow that. I'll add one more thing on there that's also very important, and it's the reason it answers Mr. Vaught's question, I believe, is why are people leaving the public school system? And I think part of it is because they see so much injection of things that don't belong in the public school system. So they want somebody that's going to stand up and fight for their kids, that will make sure that their kids are being looked after correctly, that they're being protected, that we're not having nonsensical ideas like men playing women's sports and destroying other stuff, that we're not following just some of this political injection that's trying to come into the education system when it's supposed to be a neutral ground. Education is. And because of that, you've heard all the ideas tonight. You know who I am. You've seen me act. You've seen my record. I'm asking for your vote on August 1st. Because you know that I will tell you the same thing in public as I would to anyone in secret. I'm the same guy.
Mr. Brooks, what do you consider to be the 3 most important issues facing the Rutherford County school system at this time, and how would you address those issues if elected?
Overcrowding, funding, and transparency. You know, I know that they are currently working on the overcrowding with, charter schools, trying to build new buildings and things like that. But let's be honest, the overcrowding didn't start overnight. It's a long process, and we got to that place. And so the thing is to come up with comprehensive plans and have things structured correctly, and plans, even though we may have to adjust sometimes and we may have to pivot, but plans that will last us. Thinking forward and not thinking just right now, or, we got to hurry up and react, and we got to just respond to this right here. But no, being ready, being prepared for the things to come. Without a vision, the people perish. And I've seen that happen. And we don't want to be caught in that position. And so it's just to have those plans put in place. As far as funding, everybody has to balance a checkbook. I have to do it at home as well as at my job, and how we run things at work. And transparency. When I think of transparency, I think of parent involvement. The only way to get parents involved is to be open and honest. What do we want to hide from parents? We shouldn't. We should want to invite them in and allow them to be parents along with the education system, so we can foster good relationships for the student's sake. I'm Robert Brooks. I would appreciate your vote come August 1st, early voting, July 12th through the 27th. If you got any questions, find me. Email me. Stop me if you see me in the streets. Let's talk.
Mr. Vaught, what do you consider the 3 most important issues facing the Rutherford County school system at this time, and how would you address those issues if elected?
I think they've been similar for several years. I was thinking back when I got these questions. Since 1986, we basically added 1,000 students per year, and I think now we're pushing 1,800 to 2,000 students per year. So growth is probably paramount. Getting capacity to handle the number of students that are there. That goes along with the employees. 80% of the budget is labor related. It's your employees. You've got to take care of those. You've got to provide benefits for them. You've got to have a capital project. I think the school board has done a reasonably good job. When I served on the county planning commission, we made, in the county commission, we made it a requirement that a representative from the school board be at every planning commission meeting to have a copy of the number of subdivision lots that were being created in this county, where they could anticipate where schools needed to be located. I think that's even more paramount now, that we have to understand where growth is happening, be planning the location of these schools, and get them built quickly. I think we can look at different construction techniques. That's one thing I think I can bring to the board from my tenure on the Public Building Authority and also being in real estate for several years. I think I understand those building techniques. Safety is another big issue. I think everybody is concerned about safety. We have to do everything we can to protect both the students and the employees, the teachers, and take care of them. And the third one is always be accountable to the taxpayers. The taxpayers want to know that we're stewards of their money, that we're taking care of it, that we're getting the most bang for their buck that we can. I'm Stan Vaught, Milton resident. I asked the people in Laverne, Walter Hill, Lascassas, North Murfreesboro, and Milton to support me.
Ms. Fee, what do you consider the three most important issues facing the Rutherford County school system at this time, and how would you address those issues if elected?
So I figured that everyone would mention overcrowding, or at least the majority would mention overcrowding. I have three other issues that I was not sure that would be touched on. So the first one is a tax on our public funding for schools. I'll counteract that by voting against any future charter schools. I'll be at the Capitol, whether it's because I won my election or it's my own personal time. I'll be at the Capitol when or if voucher programs resurrect this next legislative session, and correcting any misinformation that's being sent out about voucher programs. The second one we've already heard is resistance to inclusive schools. One way I'll do that is by ensuring that any book challenges brought to our school libraries will be directed through our Materials Review Board, which our current board created for the sole purpose, August of last year, of reviewing any book challenges. This board is made up of principals, teachers, school librarians, and parents, and we need to trust them to do the job that they've been appointed to do. The last one, you can also find me at RUCO Pride on June 29th. If you'd like to get some more information or get to speak with me, I'll be there representing this year, as I will be every year, for our queer and trans kids. And the last one is the demonization of our teachers in public schools. I will counteract this by advocating for our teachers and listening to their concerns and their issues so we actually know what they are and how to fix them. Our teachers are highly trained, highly educated professionals who do this job for crap money because they love it. I'm the only Democrat running on this ballot, but I'm not the only one in the county. Half of this room is full of Democrats. So thank you all for coming out. You can find out more about me at votetiffanyfee.com or speaking with me after this. Thank you.
Once again, on behalf of the League of Women Voters, MT Law, and Sigma Delta Theta Sorority in Rutherford County, we just want to thank all of our candidates that were here today and that participated, and also for our audience that's here today and for those that are watching online on the video. I also want to thank Mr. Lee Harris, who is the Rutherford County Creative Services Manager, who's been great in assisting me tonight with this moderation, and the candidates as well as Danny and the Rutherford County Information Technology Department for all their help in both promoting and presenting this program on the Rutherford County Government Access Television channel so that our viewers can see this tonight. I also want to encourage all of our Rutherford County eligible citizen voters to come out and vote. Voter registration deadline, some of the candidates mentioned this, but the deadline is July 2nd. Early voting will begin on July 12th and goes through July 27th. You may early vote at any one of the early voting locations. On Election Day, which is August 1st, make sure that's on your calendar. You'll be able to vote at any one of the voting centers located throughout Rutherford County. To find out which location will be best for you, or if you're interested in voting by absentee ballot, please visit the Rutherford County Election Commission at election.rutherfordcountytn.gov. Please exercise this very important right to determine who else will serve on the Rutherford County School Board. We want to remind everybody that every vote counts. And at this time, if we could just give a round of applause for our candidates. Thank y'all for being out here tonight.
Sigma Theta, not Sigma Theta Delta.
So I'm very sorry. It's Delta Sigma Theta sorority. So I want to correct that. Thank them very much for helping us tonight. That will conclude our program. Thank you again so much.